Welcome to Writer Talks, where you get to meet the winners of the short story contest of two sisters writing and publishing, whose short stories are published in our international anthology of authors. I am so excited to introduce you to one of our winners tonight. She's coming to us live from Dallas, Texas, and her name is Alyssa Vaughn, and I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins, one of the two sisters. Alyssa, welcome to Writer Talks.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I love your story. Okay, it's in our second anthology, our international anthology of authors who win our monthly short story contest, and it's called Younger. And wait, let me just share. The first time my husband Joe died, I was devastated. And so you take us on this like time warp experience and you don't know where it's going. And there's all these twists and turns. And the last sentence is just awesome, but I won't give it away. So, can you talk about what inspires your writing, Alyssa?
A lot of the time, it's other writers, other community members that online. That one actually was inspired by somebody making fun of the fact that every time they reboot the Spider-Man movies, they make the character of Aunt May younger every time, and it's her husband that dies every time. Uh,
Oh my goodness.
so that just made me think like, okay, that's a story. Like she's the
I
interesting character here, not the superhero.
Oh, I love that. That's so fun. So you clearly had fun writing this story. Can you talk about your writing process? Do you have to have it all quiet or do you have to have noise? Do you have to be alone?
um, I found that I'm most successful if I can just get myself started. If I can just set a timer, and it doesn't matter if I've got music playing or if I'm wearing my favorite t-shirt, although I'm trying to like trick my brain with those kinds of things now that I'm in the house all the time and it's kind of easy to get distracted. um, but if I just set a timer and say like, okay, I'm gonna write for 5 minutes, then
Uh-huh.
I won't even notice that the timer's off. I'll just keep going.
5 minutes?
Yep, just 5 minutes, and it just is kind of like a kickstart. It's like just make yourself write for 5 minutes, and
What? That is
and
awesome. It's like because we always think as writers, oh, I need a sabbatical. Oh, I need a whole weekend. Oh, I need to go to a cottage far away. No, you just said 5 minutes. That is so profound. I love it. So, how does that work for you? So, it's a trick you said. So, you start and you just keep going?
yep. Sometimes I do a little bit longer, like I'll do 10 or 15 minutes to start with. But
Uh-huh.
if it's a really bad day, I'm like, you can do 5 minutes. Anybody can do 5 minutes. Um,
Wow. Wow.
but
Wow.
uh, it's really helpful that like there are lots of people on Twitter or on there's a huge writer community on TikTok now, or you can join Discord groups where they're gonna do these kinds of sprints together, and you just put on a timer and you're not talking to each other. Nobody's talking during this time, but everybody is just writing straight through. And then, the timer goes off. And in those kinds of situations, you just kind of check in with each other and you have a little breather. But when I'm by
Mhm.
myself, it's like, okay, the timer's off, but my brain is still going. So, and that's how I can turn a day where I didn't think I was going to get 300 words into a day where I cranked out, 2,000.
Wow, that's awesome. What are you working on right now?
Right now, I'm working on a YA novel that has been bugging me for years, and I haven't been able to do anything with it until I joined a new critique group, and they were like, they were talking about my main character, and they were like, well, it seems like she's not mad about this; she's mad about her relationship with her dad. And I was like, oh, and I just started writing all of these different things, and I think I saw somebody. Um, I don't even remember who said it, so I can't even give them credit. But they said something like, "Your first novel is getting out all your feelings about your parents or something like that. So I hope they never watch this, and I hope they never read that book.
No.
But
Oh, that's so funny.
that's finally rolling. And then I'm so frustrated because I was working on another one that I was going to submit to a different anthology. And I thought it was just going to be like a little 2,000, 3,000 word story. And I'm on 4,000 words, and we're just past the inciting incident. So I'm not going to be done with that in time to turn it in, because I have no idea how long it's going to be at this point.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome. So your muse is singing to you, huh?
It is real. It's a real change, like the last couple of weeks from the last year. I haven't written like this since, I think, before my second kid was born.
Oh, how old is your second child?
She just turned 2 in January, at the end
Oh
of
my
January.
gosh, you have a 2-year-old and you write a sentence. That's a feat. And you have a son and a husband and dogs too, right?
Exactly.
Okay, okay. So can you talk about what changed over the past year? Was it the pandemic? Was it working at home, homeschooling, those kind of things?
The pandemic did do a lot, and it was the first thing that really made me start thinking about my expectations for myself.
Oh, what do you
Um,
mean?
I feel like, especially with the writing community and how events like, Remo, kind of, say anybody can write, here's a way to get started, which is amazing. But it also kind of plants this idea that if you fail at that, then maybe you're not serious enough about it. Um, I feel like there's a little bit of that unspoken attitude in some places. Um, I definitely not everywhere. It's definitely not a universal attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people who are like, if you're a writer, you write every day. And I think that that's not realistic for some people, especially people who like, there are so many writers that writing is not their full-time job. It's
Right,
their passion,
exactly.
and they are writers.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Um, and for everybody that was going through the pandemic, it was incredibly difficult to be creative during the pandemic because we were all stressed out. And that was the first time that I was like, you know what? It's okay if I can't sit down and write right now, just because I want to lie down and rest for a while.
Good for you. Are you
And yeah,
good for you? That's really good to set those boundaries and not feel like you're disappointing yourself or others or living up to some standard that someone on the internet set for you. You know?
exactly.
So, wow, Alyssa, that's really cool. Do you also have a full-time job?
I that's the weird thing, is because when we hit October, I I am a, I teach high school,
Uh-huh.
but we hit October and I got really sick and we didn't know what it was. And I there would be days where the most I could do by myself was go to the restroom and then get back in bed.
Wow.
And I'm
Wow.
lucky that the restroom is like a few feet from my bed. Um,
Oh my
so,
gosh.
uh, and that lasted for like, it didn't change. I did not get better uh, for 5 months. And I went to different specialists and I had a bunch of different procedures and testing and diagnostic stuff done. And there was just nobody that could tell me what was going on until I think I met with the doctor who actually was like, oh, yeah, that sounds like this. Um, my first appointment with them was March 10th.
Wow.
And that about coincides with my newfound Zen writing
Oh,
sessions.
wow. Isn't that interesting how such a disruption can be an inspiration at the same time? Wow.
Yeah.
So it wasn't COVID?
It wasn't COVID. I never tested positive for COVID through
That's
all of
good.
it.
That's
Yeah,
good.
that was the good part.
Yeah. Do you feel better now?
It's um it's getting better. It's going to be a process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think uh this is another thing that people just don't think about sometimes is there are so many, things that are termed disabilities. I've learned now that I have a disability, like
Wow.
according to paperwork, and I was really
According to
shocked. And it turns out like other things that I've been diagnosed with are on that list of, if you're filling out a job application to say, do you have a disability? Those things are on there. And I think that that's really like something to think about, is that people are living with day-to-day things that are wrong with their body, but they're still demanding of their body and their brain that they do things like work a full-time job, keep your house in some kind of working order, feed yourself, feed your kids, have a relationship with your spouse, have a social life, keep your mental health okay, and also fulfill yourself creatively, whether that's writing or art or, making puppets or whatever, you know? Um,
I feel exhausted by that list.
exactly. And then when you throw on top of it that somebody is dealing with something and not having it acknowledged by other people or themselves,
Right.
that is taking away their ability, like taking away their energy to accomplish some of that stuff. You have to you have to kind of take account of, like, there's this thing called the spoon theory,
The
which
spoon?
spoons, it's a little anecdote that you can find if you Google spoon theory. And a person was trying to describe to their friend their limited amount of energy. And they said, it's like I start my morning with this many spoons, and it costs me this amount of spoons to take a shower, and this amount of spoons to get dressed, and this amount of spoons to drive myself to work. And by the end of the day, I have, enough spoons left to, I could cook dinner, but then I'm not going to have enough energy to eat it. Or I can order takeout, um, and then I'll have enough energy to eat, um, but I'm still not going to have enough energy to, go out and socialize. And if I go out and socialize, I'm not eating. So
Wow. Mm. So we need to ration our spoons more conscientiously. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. And I think we have to, like, even just to acknowledge and say, like, I'm out of spoons today. Like, I don't have the spoons for that.
Wow.
Just,
And be okay with it.
yeah, even before all of this happened, I had read that on the internet. And that was something my husband and I were saying to each other without acknowledging or thinking that either of us had anything wrong with us. We were saying to each other, like, I just don't have the spoons to do the dishes today. Can you cover me? Or I don't have the spoons to go do this thing with our friends. Do you think it's okay if we stay home? And, that was just an easy way of telling each other, like, we don't, like, I need to let this part go so that we can get the rest of it done.
Wow, that is so awesome. It's really the ultimate boundaries and defending them for your own well-being. I love that, Alyssa. Love it because guess what?
Did not come up with it.
What?
All credit to the person that came up with it.
Oh,
But
okay.
like,
Well, if you're
I just don't want
watching,
to feel like I took credit for it. So if
no,
she's
no, you
watching,
you attributed it to somebody on the internet, and whoever you are, thank you very much for creating the spoon analogy that is helping Alyssa and her husband. It's really awesome, and I'm gonna use it because we have to, instead of being mad about only having this many spoons of energy per day, just roll with it. That just what is, and then make peace with it, and then we can savor each spoon even more, right?
exactly. Yeah. It's, it's more about like what you were able to do than what you couldn't get to.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Earlier this year, I don't know what about 2021 feels like someone pushed a fast forward button, but I have always had this feeling like I'm racing against the clock and the calendar. Like it's a constant thing. And then I look up at 10 o'clock, it's like, oh no, the day's almost over and I still need to do XYZ. No, my to-do list can wait till tomorrow and I can rest. So anyway, it's about setting. I'm so proud of you. That's amazing advice to anybody, because guess what? For writers, Alyssa, clearly you need brain energy to write and have that, even if it's 5 minutes, you can't write if you're foggy or drowsy. So you have to save some spoons for your writing. I love that. So writers are so good with metaphors. That's just perfect. We could talk about what's in the spoon. Is it honey? Is it maple syrup? Is it, ice cream? Right?
Exactly.
That is so fun. I love metaphors. They just like really add some life and zest to what you're writing. So, is there anything you'd like to read?
Um, let's see if I have something.
So balancing a family, a home, a job, and all the anxieties of the pandemic is so exhausting. So I often say, I know a lot of young mothers who say, I want to be writing right now. But I just say, you know what? Your kids are going to grow up and then you'll have lots of time. So just enjoy the moment and relax into it. And well, when my son was a baby, I used to pull all-nighters. I don't do that anymore, but that's what I would do. I would write all night. But that's not the best thing for your body. If you want to read, that's cool. If you don't want to, Alyssa, that's totally fine.
I've actually got one that it's a piece of flash fiction. Um,
Okay.
so uh, this one I wrote about because there was uh, there was a science article that I read about a um, very small moon orbiting a planet. It's like uh, I forget exactly what it said, but this is vaguely based in science. If anyone has problems with my science fiction, and it's called Orbit.
Orbit.
Impleo wasn't much of a moon. For one thing, it looked flattish and lumpy, even from planetside view, not the pleasing spherical shapes of the other moons in the system. For another, if you took a good running start and leapt, there was a good chance that you'd enter a low orbit and be stuck circling the little rock until someone got you down. Allie had tried it once, while Mira watched in morbid fascination. But before she had jumped even as high as the house, their father came soaring out of nowhere and snatched her out of the air, brought her back down to Impleo's surface. Gazing out the kitchen window, Allie recalled with a grimace the harsh reprimand, the long banishment to her room, and the threats to never let her outside without a tether holding her to the house's foundations. She hadn't tried entering Impleo's orbit since then, but she hadn't stopped thinking about springing up from the ground, sailing away from the grayish soil and the bare, always dying grass into the starry sky. Now she
Mm.
had her chance. Her bag
Ooh.
was packed. It lay at her feet like an obedient dog, ready to move as soon as she did. The mug of coffee in front of her sent curls of fragrant steam into the air, and she wrapped her hands around it absent-mindedly. The kitchen, usually stretching the meaning of cozy to the point of cramped, felt strangely empty and lonely. Allie pictured her mother out in the barn tending to the livestock, muttering to herself about ungrateful, lazy daughters, while a tear or two escaped the corner of her eye and dripped down her long nose. At
Mm.
least her mother was showing some emotion, Allie thought, staring into the depths of her cup. Her father and sister hadn't spoken to her since she announced her intention to take the university scholarship planetside. I won't even be that far away, she had protested, addressing the back of Mira's head. In their tiny shared bedroom, Mira had faced the wall every night for 3 weeks, rather than look her sister in the eye. I'll be back to visit all the time. Mira didn't even move. At first, Allie had been angry, but the anger had soon faded to bewilderment. They had all nagged her about her studies, finally appeased when she had earned her distinctions for compulsory level education at a rank that even earned her some merit recognition from the governor's board. They had been astonished when the scholarship offers started. Her mother had immediately started bragging to their few neighbors and sending messages to their family members. Her father, while impressed, was quick to point out that it was a bit of a waste, since Allie had no intention of leaving Empleo. She would, of course, be gaining her advanced degree through distance courses, just like Mira. And Allie's heart, which had been rather apathetic through the entire ordeal, sank like a stone when her mother and sister nodded along. Their farming community was an important part of making the terraforming process permanent. Everyone needed to pitch in. No hand could possibly be spared. Empleo had never been where Allie pictured her future self, not forever. Her parents, scientists who had given up their labs and their prestige to advance the science of adapting environments for human habitation, were the ones who chose Empleo before Mira or Allie had ever been born. Allie wanted something else. She had a dream for her life that hadn't been inherited from her family. Staring at the kitchen, imagining the way their family had always gathered together in the chilly evenings, cooking, eating, laughing together. 3 weeks she had endured her mother's never-ending stream of vitriol and the icy silence from the rest of her family. No one was even waiting with her. No one was going to see her off. A chime sounded from the comm station wedged into the corner by the stove. The shuttle was arriving. With no signs of life from the rest of the house, Allie washed her mug, picked up her bag, and left. She was halfway to the docking station when she heard someone yelling her name. She turned to see Mira, long black braid flying behind her, tears streaking her round brown cheeks, running to catch her. Allie remembered then what Mira had whispered to her late that night, way back when their father had snatched Allie from floating away into the stars. I signaled for Dad on my comm when you weren't looking. I was scared I might never see you again. Pride still smarting, Allie turned away from her sister in the dark. What would you have done if you had jumped high enough? What would I have done? I never would have seen you again, Mira had sniffled. Stupid, Allie had burst out impatiently. I would have been in orbit. I'd be circling Empleo, not floating away from it. You would see me every time I came back around. For some reason, this caused Mira's tears to dissolve into giggles. Allie laughed whenever her sister laughed, and soon they were snuggled into the same bed, hands entwined, smiling in their sleep. Mira caught up to her on the road, almost knocking Allie down as she flung her arms around her. Allie's shoulder was quickly wet with tears. I thought you weren't talking to me, Allie teased gently. Stupid, Mira stuttered through her tears. What am I supposed to do without you? You'll be in my orbit, Allie said, wiping the tears from her face. I'll see you every time you come back around. On the shuttle, Allie looked out the window as they began to undock. As they moved ever up through the atmosphere, she was almost sure she could see her sister standing on the grayish loam, watching wide-eyed as Allie sailed away into the stars. The end.
Okay. Woo! Wow, that's really touching. Oh, that's beautiful. Love it. Orbit. I love it. Well, you know it's good when someone starts crying.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have picked his sister's one on this.
I know, right? See? No, that was beautiful, Alyssa. I love it. And I love your verbs and you set the scene. And it was just really, I love it. So I don't have any tissues by me, but whatever. That was awesome. Thank you. So is it published or what are you doing with it?
I think now that I've read it, I'm just going to put it on my website.
Oh, that's really good. So what's your website so people can read more of your work?
It's Ann Vaughn, VAUGHN.com.
Okay. And okay, anvaughn.com. And then also, I'm really curious, Alyssa, about how to get involved in online writing communities. You said TikTok and Twitter, and I've just like, I know they're there, but I hashtag writing community and I have no engagement. I don't understand it. So how do you like make yourself engaged?
I found that the hashtags are kind of a way to locate writers, but if you want to be engaged, you have to, if you want engagement, you have to engage, basically.
Oh, like
I've,
comment.
yeah, you basically, my biggest successes have been when I start commenting on other people's stuff. I find writers that I like what they're posting, and I start talking to them.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and that's how I got into a horror, uh, ladies of horror fiction Discord, and they post, different uh, anthology opportunities and magazine submission deadlines. They have a space to ask for beta readers. And to like encourage each other, say like, oh, I got like, this got accepted, oh, I got a rejection, and just kind of shout each other on.
Oh,
uh, there's
fun. Okay.
one there's one for that I found by talking to a different group of people. I'm in one for speculative fiction authors. Um, and in TikTok, it's really just you you find somebody's funny video, and then like I basically followed different people until somebody followed back, and then I
Uh-huh.
just really gave, like, every time you heavily engage with somebody and you have to comment. You have to comment on their stuff, and then they'll talk back to you, and you sort of just like form a relationship. And once you form that relationship, you're supporting each other. You've got yourself a little internet friend.
Oh,
And
fun.
yeah, and then when you share something like, "Hey, my book just came out," or my book is on Kindle Unlimited, or it's for sale on for 99 cents just this weekend. Suddenly you have your buddy who's like, "Yeah, I just downloaded it," or "Yeah, I just posted a review to Goodreads," or
Oh.
and it's just really great to be able to give that support and then to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's really more of a one-on-one relationship, growing your own community, than it is of just like diving in and finding everybody that's already there,
Mm,
which can be really rough because you feel like the new kid in the room all the time. But so
right.
does everybody else, pretty
Oh,
much,
okay.
you know? Like,
Uh-huh.
but
So
sorry.
no, go ahead because I'm totally curious, and this will help any writers who are interested in getting engaged and joining the community and feeling that seen and heard.
I also find that, or found that if that's like if finding individual people to build that relationship with and building out, or finding them and then like joining the group that they already have, um, Scribe is a website that is free. They have a system to post your work and just get critiques from like random whoever wants to read it. And you have to give critiques to earn enough credit to post your work. Um, kind of, you know, kind of ensures that not everybody's posting and nobody's reading. But they also have groups and forums where you can uh, meet people individually and share your work outside of that system, so that you're not just like stuck reading a bunch of other people's
Oh,
stuff.
okay,
You know,
okay.
so you can you can find a horror fiction group there, and then uh, and then you can be trading your work, and you have found a group,
Mm-hmm.
a pre-made community there.
Mm-hmm.
um,
I love it. Okay. And TikTok, is this the same thing where you like and comment or follow?
Pretty much.
Okay.
um, there's a tag going on right now, 10K authors, which is kind of a movement that started with the artist community, and a couple of other groups have picked it up, which is just the idea. It's not a, what you want to be careful of is follow trains, which is just people who are following each other and they don't talk to each other. So that your number, like, it looks like you have 14,000 followers, but nobody's actually talking to you. Um,
So
which,
you said 10K authors?
yes.
Is that a
Hashtag,
hashtag?
yeah, hashtag 10K authors. And people who are using that are people who are going to like your video, but also comment and say like, that's really cool. What are you writing about? Like, you know, like, let's do a couple of people are starting groups to do sprints on specific nights and sharing links to join Discord. So you have the community. And it's when you find a
So
hashtag like that, that's when you can find the groups that are forming.
I love that because is that a play on publishers saying you have to have 10,000 followers in order to be relevant to have a book deal?
I think originally it was because TikTok says you have to have 10,000 followers in order to join the Creators Fund, which is how you start making money off of your TikTok content.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. And then one more thing, Alyssa, oh my gosh. Um, the sprint. What is a sprint? You're totally schooling me on so much stuff tonight. I'm sure it's helping everybody who's watching. So what's a sprint?
That is the timer. So when I set the timer for 5 minutes, that's just kind of a me thing. Normally a sprint is when you set it for 20, 30, however many minutes, and you're just going to write for that amount of time and you're not going to do anything else.
Oh,
It's usually your count, like you're aiming for a specific word count, or you're looking at your word count, you're sharing your word count with whoever you're sprinting with, or you're going to tweet it to hold yourself accountable or something like that. There is, I think it's an app. It's either an app or a website called Write or Die, and there is a specific,
what? Did you say
yeah,
write or die?
Write or Die, and there's a specific mode where if you're not keeping up with the pace, it
Uh-huh.
starts erasing what you wrote.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I don't use that one because I'm not that crazy.
that's brutal.
That's going to be more distracting to me than anything
Oh my
else.
gosh, that's pretty hardcore. Okay, write or die. I don't need to join that one either, but I guess that might be a motivator for some people.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty cool. Wow, Alyssa, is there anything else you'd like to share with other writers? I have learned so much in this 33 minutes, so thank you for that. Is there any other guidance, advice you'd like to share?
Um, I just think, I really hesitated for a long time to uh, be a part of the community because I was like, oh, I only have short stories published, or um, I'm only submitting to flash fiction. Uh, you know, I'm only submitting flash fiction places. So I'm not a real writer. Everyone else is talking about their novels and submitting to publishers, and that's not what I'm doing right now. But since when I decided like I really want to be serious about my writing, it was when my first child was born. Um, and I decided that, this is something that I'm really passionate about. To I want to write and I want to share my writing. And
Hmm.
short stories and flash fiction work better. I can get those done and I can get those out to,
Oh, see?
to deadlines to, yeah.
I love how you turn everything around. I love that. That's so cool. It's like, this is what works for me. So I have another show. It's
Exactly.
called Boss Up Goddess, and it's on every other night besides tonight because Mondays are for writing. But that's the mission. It's like, define what works for you. It's your
Exactly.
empire. You rule your empire. You set the rules and you rock it. And you're doing that, Alyssa. It's so cool.
Well, and I couldn't do it without the other writers that I found. I let myself lapse for like 2 years after my second kid was born because I didn't let myself make the really deep connections. And because I was like, oh well, they don't want me. They want somebody who's doing the same thing that they are. So, if anybody is
Oh.
sitting there going like, oh well, I can't get past my first chapter. I keep rewriting my first chapter, or oh, I only do poetry, or I only do blah, blah, blah. doesn't matter. Like, go out there and find more writers, because nobody cares. Nobody cares that you're only doing this. Nobody cares that you're only write, iambic pentameter about, werewolves. Like, nobody, like, that's cool. Somebody will help you with that.
Right.
Like, get a Twitter account and start tweeting that you want some beta readers, or you want to start a Discord or whatever, because somebody will come and be your writing buddy and help you hold it accountable and reach your goals, whatever the goals that work for you are.
Oh, I love it. That is so inspiring. You are wonderful, Alyssa. I wish you all the best. And thank you very much for joining me tonight on Writer Talks.
Thanks so much for having me. I had so much fun.
Wasn't it fun?
It was.
Even though I was crying.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I'm really proud of you for, you touched my heart with your story. It was beautiful. So thank you. And I wish you wellness on your quest for, recovering and setting those boundaries and savoring every spoon.
Exactly. Every spoonful.
All right. Thank you, Alyssa. Good luck with everything. And thank you, all of you, for joining us tonight on Writer Talks, where you got to meet Alyssa Vaughn talking about her short story called Younger on the twosisterswriting.com/winning stories, and published in our international anthology, because it's an amazing story. And as you can see, she writes other amazing stories, and short stories are what work for her. That is a crucial message, and so many lessons learned tonight. So thank you for teaching us all of that, Alyssa. I'm going to go on TikTok, and I'm going to go back on Twitter and see how to get engaged. I really appreciate your guidance on that. So, and all of you, please like, share, subscribe, comment. We'd love to hear any questions you might have for Alyssa or for me. And tune in every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, here on Two Sisters Writing, our YouTube channel, where you can watch Writer Talks and meet all of our short story writers from around the world. So remember, happy reading, happy writing, and I'll see you next time.